Well, reviews are in, and we're going to tell you what they are. He's Todd Vandenberg, I'm Rob Steele, and we've got 3 movies to talk about this week. And I know at least one of them was really damn weird. I don't know about the other 2, because Todd did those. We'll start with one of your... What was it? Leave No Trace.
Leave No Trace.
Sounds like unfortunately, in my head, what I'm getting is you see the movie, and then you leave, and it's immediately erased from your mind, and you don't remember seeing it. Hopefully that's wrong.
It's exactly the opposite of what happens. To me, this is one of the best movies of the year. Easily one of the best movies of the year.
You do realize we're only 1 month in, right?
One of the best movies of 2018, because it came out in 2018.
Ooh, okay, sorry, I'll shut up.
Yeah, I should have actually said that because I didn't make that clear. And when we talked about, these are our favorite movies of 2018, I hadn't seen this movie yet. I would have to bump something up for this movie. God, what an awesome film this is. Basically, it is a vet played by Ben Foster, who is like a criminally underrated actor. If you saw Hell and High Water, you've seen Ben Foster. If you saw the remake of The Mechanic, you've seen Ben Foster. First thing I ever saw him in was the Punisher, not Punisher Warzone, but the Punisher with Thomas Jane way back when. He was the weird little dude with, a mouthful of metal, like through his lips. And he was great in that. He plays a vet who just can't adjust to being back in society. And he and his daughter, 13-year-old daughter, they just live in a park in Portland, just out in the woods, because he can't really deal with society and everything because of his issues. He's not crazy. He's not violent. There's nothing weird or sick going on with him and his daughter. He's a terrific father. He just can't deal with being back in society. Eventually, they are found and they are forced to leave. And this movie is about their adjustment to being put into a house. They're still together, and how he deals with that, and how she deals with his relationship to trying to get back into society. The actress is Thomasin McKenzie. Never heard of her before. She is excellent. She's from New Zealand, and of course, she sounds very much like she's American, because that's what all the foreigners do. They sound exactly like us, and yet all we get is Kevin Costner sounding like he's from Iowa when he tries to be Robin Hood. So frustrating that we can't do it the other way. But, okay, she was actually in The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. She's got several credits to her, but she's excellent. Ben Foster is like off charts crazy good. He probably won't get nominated for Best Actor, which is really, really, because this guy is just terrific. Just an awesome movie overall. It's very intense family drama. Looks beautiful. The director, Deborah Granick, not going to ring a lot of bells for most people, because she hasn't directed a movie since her first movie, which is 7-8 years ago. No, Winter's Bone. Another awesome, amazing family drama, which happened to launch the career of a lady you may have heard of, Jennifer Lawrence. Also a great movie about a family like in crisis. And Jennifer Lawrence is phenomenal in that. Imagine why this woman has directed since then. She's directed some small pictures here and there. She's done some TV documentaries. I don't know if it's just because she's a woman, she can't direct, because we apparently see that kind of crap a lot. But she's back with Leave No Trace. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is also on Amazon Prime. You're going to watch it for free. Absolutely, for me, one of the best 3 movies of 2018.
Wow.
Beautiful movie.
Now, the movie I did, which is...
Sounds sad, Rob.
A part of me really, really wanted to like this movie, and part of me knew I'm probably not going to, but I did and I didn't. There are parts of it that are brilliant and parts of it that are just bizarre. I'm going to start off by telling you that my daughter, in college, by the way, looked at the DVD because I got it, and she said, "How the hell do you pronounce this name? It looks like Quixote, but it's spelled wrong." That should tell you the level of literary education that comes along in Georgia. It's not. It's the film is called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and I'll admit I still call it Quixote anyway because that's how it's spelled. Just me, just saying. Anyway, this movie's had so much trouble getting out. I don't know when they filmed it. I think they finished filming it like 15 years ago, and yet I know they didn't because this is the second film I've seen Adam Driver in. And yes, I'm counting Star Wars as one thing. Only in this, he's much better than he was in Star Wars. Granted, that's not saying much, but in this movie, pardon me, he plays Toby, a guy who's trying to make a Don Quixote film and has gotten the whole production to Spain, which was expensive to film it, and it's not going well. Oh dear. His boss, Stellan Skarsgård, who seems to be in everything these days, is his boss. And he has a wife or girlfriend, not really sure which, who keeps trying to get Toby in bed. Oops. Now, during one of her first flirt fests, which is at the very beginning of the movie, he comes across a gypsy DVD seller who sells him a film called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which was filmed in Spain by a student named Toby. Hang on a minute. I made this movie, says Toby, and when I was a student, however many years ago this was, and hang on a minute, I filmed it just over those hills over there. I didn't realize we were so close. And now, one of the problems he had with filming the new version is that he couldn't get a good guy to play Don Quixote. But in his original, he'd recruited a local shoemaker named, well, we don't really know what his name was, but the local shoemaker played by Jonathan Pryce. So he goes over the hill, finds Jonathan Pryce. It is now a variable number of years later. I say variable because at certain points they said it was 5, 10, and 15 years ago. Anyway, Jonathan Pryce's character has now lost his mind and thinks he actually is Don Quixote. And that somehow Toby is Sancho Panza. Now, another thing in this movie that goes along with the going to find Jonathan Pryce is that in the village, the young local bartender's 15-year-old daughter, at the time 15, older now, Angelica, played wonderfully by Joanna Ribeiro, who I've never seen before, but that seems to be a theme for this particular show. She played Dulcinea, Don Quixote's true love, or she played just a girl, depends on which part of the film we're in. Eventually, like I said, Toby is mistaken for Sancho Panza, Don Quixote's squire or squirrel, again, depends on which part of the movie we're in and how Jonathan Pryce decides to pronounce it. He's reunited with Angelica, who is now married to a Russian gangster who is actually the one financing Stellan Skarsgård, who is producing Toby's film. Confused? Keep going. We're not there yet. Actually, that's really about as far as I'm going to describe the film, as I've neglected to mention the setting fire to the village where Toby gets in trouble with the law, and it leads to him being on the run through the whole movie through a bizarre set of circumstances, and now he's wandering around with Don Quixote through Spain, where they find an Al-Qaeda stronghold in Spain. Again, I'd like this to make more sense, but the Al-Qaeda stronghold is infested with bizarre creatures and 14th century police and or Spanish Inquisition. Again, depends on what part of the movie we're in. Now, have I lost you yet? Which, that would actually be a good thing, because that's how I spent most of this movie, was lost. I think I disobeyed the primary rule of Terry Gilliam films, because I watched it sober. I think I would have liked it much better if, one, I was more familiar with Don Quixote, and I'm not. And if I were lacking in sobriety, it would have helped. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not a bad movie. It's just a Terry Gilliam film, which means it's damn weird. And there were some tremendous laugh-out-loud moments. My favorite being, and this is at the beginning, it's not a spoiler, my favorite being when Toby meets the bartender again, and they speak Spanish for a moment, until Toby says, "What are these words doing down here? We don't need those," and wipes the subtitles off the screen with a wave of his hand, and everyone speaks English for the rest of the movie. That was brilliant. I loved that.
Nice.
And I thought, this could have been a good movie, but I'm not sure I'm qualified because I was sober. So the next day after I watched this, I woke up after having several nightmares, and I realized that this movie is actually really depressing. Just the way that a lot of it is done, the ending, it's not a happy ending. No, not everyone dies. Not everyone. Anyway, like I said, I'd love to give a more definitive review, but I don't drink anymore, so that's a thing. But this is still one of those movies. It's going to become some kind of bizarre cult classic thing like Rocky Horror or Brazil, another Terry Gilliam movie. Some people will get it, some people won't. I'm one of them. But somehow this movie is going to live on forever, and you are eventually going to see this movie. Whether you realize it or not, someone is going to sit you down and go, you need to watch this. And at the end of it, you will probably do what I just did, which is have really bizarre dreams and wake up the next morning going, why did I watch that movie? Or did I? I'm not sure I did. Maybe I am Sancho Panza. I don't know. It's that kind of movie.
I'm looking forward to watching the movie because I really like Terry Gilliam's films. Brazil's one of my favorite films. And yes,
I didn't get Brazil either.
Really strange films. I had this running discussion with one manager of a video store with a customer who swore Brazil was had a sad ending, and I'm still convinced that it has a very happy ending. Just watch Brazil and figure it out for yourself, whether it's happy or sad. But it's the kind of movie where you can have different interpretations.
Yeah, anyway, the ending of Don Quixote, it could have been happy. I don't think it was, but that means nothing. So make of it what you wish. Meanwhile, for a movie that's probably going to have a much better, more definitive whether it was good or not thing, and it's a movie we've been looking forward to for some time.
It does have an ending, which is not really for debate as to what happens at the end.
Hey.
Unlike some of the other movies, we're talking about, like he said, a movie that we've been looking forward to for quite some time, ever since a gentleman by the name of Mr. Dunn showed up at the end of Split, when all of a sudden, ooh, look, they're tying things together. So, yeah, we're talking about the movie Glass. It's the third film in the trilogy, and Night Shyamalan started way back when with Unbreakable, which is 15 years ago, I believe. Unbreakable, which most people consider his second best movie. Some people think it's his best, which I guess they didn't catch The Sixth Sense. But Unbreakable, I thought, was a very underrated movie about real world heroes, which starred Bruce Willis. Gosh, excuse me.
It's contagious. I apologize.
Yeah, it is contagious. And Samuel L. Jackson. Split wound up picking up the story, although we didn't know that it picked up the story until the very end of the movie, with James McAvoy as a gentleman with multiple personalities. One of them, extremely powerful serial killer, which is not good for people in general who cross his path. Glass brings all three characters together. It actually has gotten a lot of bad reviews, and I have a feeling the people who are giving this movie bad reviews don't really remember Unbreakable or Split, because most of the complaints are there's not enough action, there's not enough confrontation between the good guy, Bruce Willis, and the bad guy, James McAvoy. There are only two fight scenes between the characters. How many fight scenes were there in Unbreakable, the movie that so many people think is his second best, or if not his best movie?
I don't remember any, actually.
There's one.
Okay.
It's not an action. These aren't action films. No. They're suspense films. They're dramas. This is a drama, a suspense film. They're not freaking action films. I don't understand how someone can complain that this is not an action film like the other films when they weren't action films. Holy crap, get a grip. Maybe watch the movie again before you depend on your faulty memory of when you saw it. I thought this is a really good movie. It wasn't great, so I was kind of sad about that because I was hoping it would be a great movie. I don't think it's as good as Unbreakable. I think it's at least Split, though. A lot of the complaints are that, well, much of it is just the three of them talking in a room. It's like, oh my God, why would someone not want to watch Samuel L. Jackson James McAvoy and Bruce Willis interact. Like, are you kidding me? Three of the best actors we have, if this was any good, and it's very good. Yeah, I would have been happy if the movie had been 2 hours of the three of those guys sitting in a room, as opposed to all in like 15 minutes. Basically, there's a psychiatrist who has brought the three of them together because she treats people who have the delusion that they're superheroes, and she wants to cure them. For some reason, there's a 3-day limit to this. She's got to get this done in 3 days. So it's the interplay between the characters. The fight scene, one of the better fight scene actually happens earlier in the film when Bruce Willis apprehends Horde, which is the multitude of characters that James McAvoy plays. And they wind up in this hospital, which also happens to be the hospital where Elijah Glass is, the character Sam. So she's working with them, trying to convince them of all this. Elijah, of course, because his superpower is that he's brilliant, plus kind of spoiler if you didn't see Unbreakable, the 15-year-old movie, it has a master plan, and he wants to pit the villain against the hero because that's what he's all about. He's all about proving that his theory is correct. And there are some nice twists towards the very end. There are a couple complaints I have with the film, though. First complaint I have with the film is there's some shady video of the character of Dunn going around and rescuing people and helping people. And for some reason, they go with the name of calling him the Overseer. Overseers aren't protectors.
No, not as such, no.
Overseers are people who oversee working. So I'm not sure why anybody would call this character an overseer as opposed to the Green Guardian because he wears the green rain poncho, or just the Guardian. So that was just kind of a really overseer. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of a message Shyamalan is set because it's really an odd choice. It's frankly stupid. Also, in the climactic battle, which is not as good as I had hoped, but it's good. It's intense. Even though they're at a mental hospital, and even though they've summoned the police, somehow no one thinks to get an ambulance. That plays a big role, even though there are injured police, and there's plenty of time to call an ambulance. So, not sure why that didn't happen. Other than that, and those are my only complaints about the movie. Really, really enjoyed it. Bruce Willis is excellent. McAvoy is like off the charts great. Samuel Jackson is he's Samuel L. Jackson. So what else do you need to know? An excellent movie. Again, didn't like it as much as Unbreakable, but to me it's close, and it does throw in some really nice twists that I didn't see coming. And it's set up for there could be more movies in this universe, and that's all I'm going to say. Shyamalan has said that he has no plans to do that. So it's not like, oh, look, it's a cliffhanger. Not at all. Not at all. This story is wrapped up neatly with a bow, but there are some very cool twists to it, and it's definitely open for him to continue in this universe, put it that way. So go see Glass. Good stuff.
Sounds like it's something worth getting out of the house and seeing.
It is.
So if you want, you can stay home and see the first two films, or you can go see Glass, which means you would have to get out and go see a movie.
That's pretty much it.